Hello everyone, welcome to my Second Amendment questionnaire. For this questionnaire, I sent this Google form, including 10 questions out to my Ap GOV class, and I got 15 responses. For my first question, is there an importance of protecting the Second Amendment right to bear arms and preserving individual freedoms? The majority of responses strongly support the importance of protecting the Second Amendment right to bear arms and preserving individual freedoms. They argue that the Second Amendment acts as a safeguard against potential government overreach and tyranny, enabling individuals to defend themselves, their rights, and their property. It is seen as crucial for maintaining a balance of power, fostering personal autonomy, and upholding the principles of freedom and self-determination. Some responses also highlight the constitutional aspect and the sense of safety and security it provides. However, there are a few differing opinions suggesting that the Second Amendment should have certain restrictions to prevent gun misuse. Overall, the majority of the responses advocate for the preservation of the Second Amendment and individual freedoms. Question number 2. Can allowing individuals to better defend themselves and their property from harm and crime to benefit society? The responses are divided on whether allowing individuals to better defend themselves and their property from harm and crime can benefit society. Some responses strongly support this idea, emphasizing that it acts as a deterrent to crime, it contributes to a safer environment, and decreases the likelihood of criminals targeting potential victims. They argue that having the means to protect oneself and property can lead to a decrease in crime rates. However, there are also opposing views suggesting that giving people guns is not the solution and can actually increase the risk of harm. These responses advocate for alternative measures such as implementing stricter background checks or reducing the circulation of guns. Overall, the opinions are mixed regarding the societal benefits of allowing individuals to defend themselves and their property. Question number 3. Are there any ways supporting the firearms industry and related businesses boost the economy? The majority of responses indicate that supporting the firearm industry and related businesses can boost the economy. They emphasize that the industry creates jobs, stimulates economic activity, and generates tax revenue. Manufacturing firearms and supporting businesses such as shooting ranges, firearm dealers, and hunting contribute to job creation and economic growth. Some responses also mention the potential for new companies to emerge and further contribute to the economy. However, there are a few responses that express uncertainty or suggest the need for regulation to balance the economic benefits with potential social concerns. Overall, the prevailing view is that supporting the firearm industry can have a positive impact on the economy. Question number 4. Can the ability to responsibly and legally use firearms for hunting, sport shooting, and personal protection benefit law-abiding citizens? The responses present a mix of opinions regarding the benefits of responsibly and legally using firearms for hunting, sport shooting, and personal protection for law-abiding citizens. Some responses strongly support the notion that these activities can be beneficial. They mention recreational enjoyment, skill development, wildlife management, conservation efforts, self-defense, and deterrence against criminals as potential advantages. However, there are opposing views that question the environmental impact, the encouragement of vigilant crimes, and the prioritization of safety over recreational activities. These responses express skepticism about the overall benefits. Overall, the opinions are divided on whether the ability to use firearms responsibly and legally for these purposes benefit law-abiding citizens. Question number 5. Are there any potential drawbacks of government bureaucracy and regulation when it comes to gun ownership? If so, list the drawbacks. The responses present a range of viewpoints regarding the potential drawbacks of government bureaucracy and regulation related to gun ownership. Some responses express a belief that there are no drawbacks and that government regulation is necessary to ensure safety and prevent access to firearms by potentially dangerous individuals. Others, however, highlight various concerns. These include burdensome processes, inconsistent enforcement, restrictive measures that hinder law-abiding citizens' ability to obtain firearms, disproportionate impact, potential ineffectiveness in reducing crime, and infringement on Second Amendment rights. There are also mentions of potential negative consequences such as loss of freedom, limited self-defense capabilities, and the possibility of causing social unrest or revolt. Overall, the opinions vary on the drawbacks associated with government bureaucracy and regulation in the context of gun ownership. Question number 6. Can the ability of law-abiding citizens to legally carry firearms deter potential criminals from committing violent acts? The majority of responses indicate that the ability of law-abiding citizens to legally carry firearms can potentially deter potential criminals from committing violent acts. The presence of armed individuals creates uncertainty for criminals, making them less likely to target individuals or locations where there is a higher chance of encountering armed resistance. Some responses mention the role of armed citizens in preventing crimes and protecting innocent individuals in dangerous situations. There's also mention of supporting studies and evidence that suggest a deterrent effect. However, there is one contrasting response that expresses skepticism about the effectiveness of armed citizens in deterring criminals, citing high crime rates and concerns about vigilant crimes. Overall, the prevailing view is that legal firearm carrying by law-abiding citizens has the potential to deter potential criminals from committing violent acts. Question 7. Can the Second Amendment promote a sense of responsibility and self-reliance among gun owners? The majority of responses suggest that the Second Amendment can promote a sense of responsibility and self-reliance among gun owners. They argue that gun ownership comes with a heightened sense of responsibility in terms of safe storage and usage of firearms. Some responses emphasize the idea that individuals should take personal responsibility for their own safety and the safety of their loved ones, rather than solely relying on the government. However, there is one contrasting response that questions the ability of the Second Amendment to promote responsibility, suggesting that restrictions and limitations may be necessary to foster a sense of responsibility. Additionally, one response states that the Second Amendment does not have a significant impact in promoting responsibility and self-reliance. Overall, the majority of the responses support the notion that the Second Amendment can encourage responsibility and self-reliance among gun owners. Question 8. Can the Second Amendment promote a culture of patriotism and civic duty? The majority of responses indicate that the Second Amendment can promote a culture of patriotism and civic duty. They argue that the ability to bear arms empowers individuals to stand up for themselves, protect others, and engage in civic responsibilities. Some responses mention the sense of patriotism associated with the responsible gun ownership and the historical context of the Second Amendment. However, there are a few responses that express skepticism or uncertainty about the Second Amendment's ability to foster patriotism and civic duty. One response suggests that the Second Amendment is outdated, given the significant societal changes since its inception. Overall, the prevailing view is that the Second Amendment can contribute to a culture of patriotism and civic duty, although there are some differing opinions. Question number 9. Is it important for individuals to have a means to resist government tyranny or oppression should such circumstances arise? The majority of responses assert that it is important for individuals to have a means to resist government tyranny or oppression should such circumstances arise. They argue that the Second Amendment was designed to ensure that the people have the ability to protect their rights and resist oppressive government actions. Some responses acknowledge that resisting a powerful government might be challenging or even unlikely to succeed in a direct confrontation, but emphasize the importance of creating resistance and forcing the government to compromise. One response suggests that nonviolent means of resistance, such as social activism, can be effective in challenging government oppression. Overall, the prevailing view is that individuals should have the means to resist government tyranny or oppression if necessary, though there are some differing perspectives on the method and likelihood of success. And for the last question, is it significant to uphold the principles of federalism and allow states to regulate firearms as they see fit? The majority of responses express the view that it is significant to uphold the principles of federalism and allow states to regulate firearms as they see fit. They argue that states have different needs, perspectives, and demographics, and therefore should have the autonomy to establish firearm regulations that align with their specific circumstances. Some responses suggest that while certain federal bans and laws may be necessary, overall firearm regulation should be left to the states. However, there are a few responses that do not provide a clear stance or express confusion about the question, and a couple of responses indicate disagreement with the idea of allowing states to regulate firearms independently.